Hey guys, Corrosive here. Hope everyone's doing well. And today I'm going to be showing you how to modify the consumer programming software, or the CPS, for the SVR 200 series of vehicular repeaters. Now, this particular model is an SVR 200U. This is a UHF version. They are made to be in-band or cross-band repeaters for commercial radio systems. And today we're going to be moving it down into the amateur radio band so that I can legally use this to cross-band from my 70 centimeter portable over to my 220 mobile, my 2 meter mobile, or my 900 mobile, using a little switch to go between them. Now, in the scope of this video, we're just going to go into the modification of the programming software itself, and then another one I'll show you how to do things such as tuning up the physical hardware, as well as the installation in my vehicle and cross-banding with several different radios and radio bands. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to need is a debugging application, as well as the actual software for the SVR itself. If you don't have it, you can get it from the Pyramid website under their downloads. You're going to need, in this case, the SVR 200 CPS. Now, my modification here is going to work on every single revision of the SVR 200, so it doesn't matter if it's a VHF or a UHF version, and I suspect it'll work with all other versions if you want to try and adapt this to other SVRs that are available through Pyramid. But in this case, we're just working on the SVR 200. Now, the next thing you're going to need is the X64DBG debugger. You can use a different one if you prefer. This is just the one that I like to use. Now, this is 32-bit software. X64DBG does come with both the 64 and 32-bit versions, so you don't have to worry about that when you go to download it. Now, before I get into the debugger and showing you the modification, let's show you the problem with the software as it stands. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start up the SVR 200 CPS, the customer programming software, and show you the error message we get when we try to go from a commercial frequency down into the amateur radio band. Now, in normal circumstances, you're going to read your SVR repeater first. Mine's not connected to the computer. Don't really need to do that for the scope of this tutorial. I'm just going to show you the main two sections here. You've got your common data here. This is going to show you your band that your SVR is set up for, as well as whether or not you have a single channel or a 14 channel revision. Now, I happen to have the 14 channel, and I know it's band A UHF, which is the 405 to 425. So I'm just going to select that. We're going to go to data again and down to frequencies, and we'll be presented with a frequency chart. Now, if you just have a single frequency model, you're just going to see one listed here. Of course, in my case, I have 14. It doesn't matter. It's going to work the same way. So let's say we want to make our crossband repeater frequency 446, just as an example. I'm going to go ahead and remove this frequency. We're going to put in 446, and I'm going to tab over. And you see we get an error here. It says that the data must be in the range of 390 to 430. Now, depending on your revision, it might say it's going to go from 430 to 450 or what have you. But the main thing we need to focus here is this first string right here. It says data must be in the range of. That's the constant that we're going to be searching for in our debugger. So what I need to do to even be able to close this software is put in a valid frequency range. So we're going to put 415 back in here just so I can close it. We're going to close out of this software. And when you install the SVR software, it's going to end up under Program Files, SVR 200 CPS. So we're going to open up the X32 debugger. That's the 32-bit version. And we're going to open, let's see, open. Actually, probably the easiest way, we can drag and drop in here. Let's go ahead and just do that. All right, so we've got our debugger opened up. We've got it running the SVR software. Now, we need to look up in the corner here under module. You can see it's the ntdll.dll. We need our module to be the SVR 200 CPS. So we're going to hit play, and you might have to hit it a few times. In this case, I just had to hit it once, and we're now in the SVR 200 CPS module. We're going to right-click in our main window here. We need to search for, in the current module, string references. It's going to open up our reference tab, and we're going to search for the thing that we saw earlier, and that is that data has to be in a specific range. So I'm just going to type the word range, and we're going to see right here we have 4 entries for data must be in the range of. And so the 4 different strings that we're seeing here is actually for the 4 variations that you would see that message with this particular SVR. And the easiest way to do this is actually to patch out all 4 of these. So we're going to come back to this references page. What we need to do is double click on the first one, and you can see this is going to bring up everything in an assembly language here, so to speak. You're going to see data must be in the range of, and if we just come up here a little bit, you're going to find where we have our jump. This one right here, this JE, this is jump if a condition is met. So in other words, what this is saying, and in our case it's saying that the jump is taken, and that's purely because I haven't tried to write anything yet. Otherwise the jump wouldn't be taken. But what this means is, if you enter a frequency that is out of band of your allowed range, then it's going to continue onward, and it's going to say data must be in the range of. It's going to stop you and prevent you from programming. If it is within the range, it's going to kind of follow this line, and it's going to go down to this instruction and continue to run, and it's going to allow you to program that repeater. So all we need to do is double click on this instruction. Instead of this making a jump if condition met, we're going to make this a normal jump condition. So we're going to change it from JE to JMP, and we're going to hit OK. So that has now changed that, and what this does is, no matter what, regardless if the condition says that we're in our band limits or outside of our band limits, it's going to jump over the section that gives us this data must be in the range of error, and it's just going to continue on, and it's going to allow us to program our SVR repeater. Now there's 3 more entries like that we need to go through and fix. So we're going to go back to our references tab, and I'm going to go to the next one, and you'll see it's set up the same exact way. We've got our JE condition here. We're going to change it to a JMP, and then I'm going to come back to references, and we're going to do that for the remaining 2. Here's the JE, and we're going to change this to a jump condition, and we have 1 more that we need to set. JE, JMP. So we're always going to jump this condition. And now that we've done that, we simply have to save the patched file, run the application, and see if it worked. So we're going to go back up to File, Patch File. Now, I've done this a number of times in preparation for making the tutorial. You might only have 4 patches in here, you might have 6, you might have 15. It all kind of varies. Just make sure that all the changes you've made have been selected, and hit Patch File. And I'm going to give it the same name, and I'm just going to have an underscore patched. Make sure you have .exe at the end here. The software doesn't necessarily know to do that, so if you don't have it, it's not going to understand it's an executable file. We're going to save it, and 20 out of 20 patches have been applied. So now we're going to close this out. Yep, we can get rid of the debugger. And now we're going to open the SVR200 CPS underscore patched executable that we have patched. It's going to open up, and we're going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to make sure that I am on the revision that I told it we were on when we started. I'm going to go to data frequency, or excuse me, frequencies, and where we had 415, we're going to put in 460, and it allows us to do so. And now, keeping in mind that you have to keep this within a reasonable range. If your SVR repeater is going to go from, say, 450 to 470 as an example, you shouldn't try to put 144 into it. You can type in 144 tab over, it will take it. And you can program it, and it will put that into the memory. But what's going to end up happening is when you fire this up to actually tune to that specific frequency, this little opt light at the end is going to flash very rapidly. That's telling you your VCO is out of lock. Now, if you're just slightly off from the normal specs, you may not have that issue. I've noticed that with this particular one, I can go like 7 or 8 megahertz off frequency, and it locks fine. If I go any further out, I'll end up with that VCO lock issue where it could need retuning. You should be able to get away with a 10 megahertz kind of sway, just because these really aren't capable of going into the amateur bands. The software just doesn't allow it, and even under normal circumstances for commercial programming, you're still supposed to go in here and manually tune it so that way the PLL locks properly. You're getting a proper 2 watts output, and it just functions the way it would be expected to. So the hardware tuning is still something you need to do, or at least you should do. In my case, I can actually get this to a few kilohertz off the calling frequency if I really want it to use it like it is without tuning it, but I don't know what the output power is going to be. So I'm going to see if I can borrow a service monitor for the next video, and I'd really love to show you how to tune this up properly, so that way not only will you have the tools to modify the software so that you can get it down into the amateur radio bands, but you'll have a reference other than what's in the service manual showing you how to tune the hardware into those bands as well. And later on, I'm hoping to make another video where I can actually show you how to go in, and I'm going to get this installed in my vehicle. And I'm planning on this port here. It looks like a serial port. This is actually the radio interface port. And what I'm hoping to do with this is run it into a serial switch, so I can have this crossband into any of the 3 radios that I want in my mobile. I can pull out my portable radio from the XTVA adapter in my car, flip the switch to 220, key up, and there I am. Flip the switch to 900, now I'm on 900, so on and so forth, rather than locking myself into just a single band for my crossband repeater. So with that being said, I hope it was helpful. I figured it would be much better to give you this tutorial rather than just hand you a file, partly because handing you a file means I'm giving away potentially copyrighted software, which I don't want to do, and the other reason being that if I just hand you a file, next time you run into a situation like this, you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And I hope that in this way you have learned just enough about how this works that you could modify other versions of the SVR repeater or other hardware that you might have that needs some of those software tweaks to go into the band that you want them in. So with that being said, I think I've rambled enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Questions, comments, please like, subscribe. Let me know what you think and what you want to see next, and I will see you guys in the next one.